So very pleased to be here with you this morning. And yeah, I see some faces I haven't seen for a very long time. And I see other faces that are very far, far away. But this morning, we are all at the same level in the screen. I hope that my English is so bad, can be understood in Spain. So let me start. We had a great council Tuesday night led by Shishin Roshi. Before it started, I had the honor of dedicating its merits to Prajna Paramita, the mother of all the Buddhas. Prajna Paramita represents the sacred feminine in our Zen tradition. The sacred feminine contains everything: males, females, people of all gender, all races, includes all animals, the insentient, our planet, and the whole universe as a whole. Lama Tsultrim Adyone writes, "It is in the Mahayana tradition that we first hear about the sacred feminine in the form of Prajnaparamita. Early on, Prajnaparamita was associated with wisdom and the epithet mother of all the Buddhas. Prajnaparamita is known as the first female Buddha, but she is not actually male or female. She is hermaphroditic, or the feminine before it splits in masculine and feminine. And it is said that one who understands Prajnaparamita cannot be harmed by fire, poison, wind, or water, and is safe from the attacks of Mara, in other words, safe from our own delusions." I don't know who to put these papers. The reason for the council we had on Tuesday, as you know, were the shootings at the King Super in South Boulder. A man that most likely suffers from untreated mental illness shoot 10 people. It's so tragic. An event like this, so close to home, can be compared to an earthquake, with the epicenter being at the King Supers, of course, but its seismic waves extend for miles and miles away from it. Yes, the ripple effect. Some of you mentioned how this shooting felt a lot stronger than other shootings. The closer we are to an event like this, the stronger the walls of our ego can shake and sometimes even collapse. In moments like this, I can only be grateful for our practice and for this path that I decided to take more than 35 years ago. When the walls of our ego collapse, we can have an experience of no self. There is a miscellaneous koan, the Aji koan, that it goes like this. To see Aji koan, the sound A, clearly wipes out the 5 grave sins. And there is a footnote. It says, A is the first letter of the alphabet, and it also means the beginning of growth, the source of the universe. In other words, the sound A symbolizes the feminine principle as the source of creation and of the universe. In the practices that I describe at the end of the Zen Priestess and the Snake, the letter A, the sound A, is used to call on the Great Mother. I think it is quite amazing that this powerful sound of the sacred feminine appears even in our miscellaneous koans. Quite a few people during the council shared their fear, anger, grief, sorrow, frustration, and so on. The things that everyone shared in the council are confidential, but it is okay to talk in general about what have been said, not about what things said, this or that, not naming anyone, then it's okay to talk about it. People's sharing in general reminded me of how important the practice of the Great Heart Way is. The practice of the Great Heart is about noticing when disturbing feelings, such as those mentioned before, arise in our body-mind. Through the practice of Zazen, we can learn how to feel those feelings without making stories about them. For example, if I suddenly notice that I am angry at someone, then I immediately know that I probably felt hurt, that there is a pain in my heart that I haven't felt, and that in order to get rid of that painful feeling, I have created a story in my mind that overrides the original hurt and results in the energy of anger that now I am projecting out there. And by doing so, I'm not clouding only my vision, I'm also clouding the vision of the Buddha land. When I do this, I obscure my own light and close down my heart. If I keep thinking about it, I can continue to fuel that anger and making it bigger and bigger. Now is hatred. My light has become even darker and my heart even more closed down. Do you think that that is a good energy to nurture our body, our Buddha body with? However, if we look back at ourselves and feel directly the pain that our anger was covering, we will be able to soothe our pain as it transforms into the wisdom of seeing clearly as our heart opens wider. Whatever negative energies we see in others, those energies belong to us. As part of doing the Great Heart practice, I find it very useful and enlightening to combine the practice of metta, sending out unconditional love, with the Tonglen practice. Whenever I find that I have a negative view on someone, I immediately breathe in myself those bad feelings towards that person, my own feelings toward that person. The moment I notice I have bad feelings towards somebody, I immediately breathe in myself those feelings. And then I put out unconditional love to that person. So this feels very healthy in my system, my body system, because I'm not bypassing my feelings, and then putting out another energy, which is great. I mean, for some people it's great. It's just, it doesn't work for me, because for me, it makes more sense that I take ownership of my own shadow, and then I'm free to send loving feelings. So if you really think about this, you will realize that we cannot really know what is the experience of anyone else's but ours. There was a lot of talk about Trump, like, I can do loving kindness practice, but not towards Trump. And that's very understandable. But on the other hand, if you think that we are only projecting our own experience of what it is to be him towards him, we really have no clue what it feels to be like him. So it's not gonna help in any way that we project our own shadow onto him, because we are only crowding our own vision, not just our own vision of him, our own vision in general. Our eyes get clouded by this kind of energy. So that's what's so important, that we breathe in our shadow and that we breathe out unconditional love. It is very simple. Breathing in our shadow or our negative feelings, and then breathing out unconditional love. You can practice with this. You can bring the face of someone you don't like into your zazen mind and see that energy clearly. I mean, it's there. It's like a shadow on that person. So we can take ownership of that energy, breathe it in, and it transforms as it brings, and as we breathe it in, and then as we breathe out unconditional love, we clarify things. The world becomes more clear, more brilliant, more alive, more vivid. So I do this practice until the negative feeling has vanished, transformed into clarity. When the pain of the tragedy that occurred on Monday blew the walls of my ego away, I felt myself slowly falling down the bottomless well of the Bodhisattva vow, for it arose stronger than ever. We all have the potential to take a negative event and feel its rawness in our heart without trying to manipulate those sensations. When we do this, we will be able to experience how those energies transform. If the lives of the people that were lost in Kinsupras help strengthen our Bodhisattva vows, then those lives were not lost completely. When an event like this strikes so close to home, we feel in our own body the connectedness and interdependence of all beings. In the same way, when we transform our grief, anger, pain, and so on, then also, because our connectedness and interdependence, we are helping to alleviate the pain of those who are suffering. The same ripple effect. Our Dharma sister, Roshi Myoyu, gave a beautiful talk 2 Thursdays ago. The ripples of her talk were mentioned by someone before, and also those ripples inspired me in this talk. So, ripple effects. The vow of saving all sentient beings may seem unfathomable at first, or maybe even overwhelming. But if the vow of saving all sentient beings arises from deep within your heart, you don't have to worry about how to fulfill it. The heart knows no boundaries, and it will find its own skillful way to fulfill that vow. When this vow arose in my heart, I just allow it to be. I have complete trust that the universe itself will provide me with the tools or the opportunity to fulfill it. Allow this vow to arise in your heart and have trust in the wisdom of the universe. How does Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva fulfill that vow? It is like a person sleeping at night and reaching for the pillow. No struggle, no concepts, no overwhelm. Reaching for our pillow at night happens naturally, the way it happens. It is the same way with the Bodhisattva vow of saving all sentient beings. There is no I and no you in the vow of saving all sentient beings. No me and no other. In reaching for the pillow at night, there is only the reaching. In saving all sentient beings, there is only the love. Some of you have been doing the practice of Tara with me and Roshi. You know that Tara practice is metta practice. We transform into Tara and we send out our best energy into the world to save all sentient beings from all dangers and negativities. Then the same wonderful energy that we are putting out into the world comes back to us and enters our heart. But the same happens with whatever energy we put out into the world. Whatever it is going to turn right back at us. If we have hateful feelings towards someone and we send those feelings out there, those feelings are going to come back right at us and poison our body, our mind, and our view of the world. It is so illuminating to breathe in our own shadow of negative feelings and breathe out unconditional love. Maybe you might not feel the effects in doing this practice immediately, but it will happen if you stick to doing it. It is a practice. I understand the mind of equanimity as a mind that we cultivate through the practice of Zazen, and which consists in looking at the world directly in the absence of concepts, of conceptual filters and judgment. The mind of equanimity is the mind that we cultivate through the practice of Zazen, and which consists in looking at the world directly in the absence of conceptual filters and judgments. I love the story of a practitioner of Tibetan Buddhism. The teacher was testing the mind of equanimity of this student. Doing that, he presented the student with a cosmic visions of heavenly realms, and the student went into a blissful state. Then the teacher presented him with terrifying visions of hellish realms, fire everywhere, consuming everyone and everything. The student went out of the teacher's chambers screaming in terror. I remember Eiken Roshi saying that equanimity is the Buddhist virtue that is most difficult to develop and the one that takes longer to manifest in our heart mind. When we understand conceptually how important it is that we don't put our judgments out there, then we might feel more motivated to practice equanimity. Roshi's friends and physicist Fred Alan Wolf writes, "There is nothing out there independent of what is going on right here." Maybe you may think, if I see the violence that is happening in the world without judgment, then I might start behaving violently towards others and feel no remorse or some other similar thought. It doesn't work quite like that. Equanimity arises from our true self, which is described as a luminous diamond that reflects everywhere. When we can manifest the mind of equanimity, we become that diamond. Equanimity is not rigid. In the old times, there were Zen practitioners that practiced equanimity as the absence of feelings. What a big mistake. If we kill our feelings, we are killing the life of our body. We are diminishing our life force. Roshi and I write in the Great Heart Way, feelings express the life of the body. Feelings are the body's natural response to specific situations. Alexander Lowen, the father of bioenergetics, writes, suppressing one feeling suppresses all feelings. If we suppress our fear, we suppress our anger. Suppressing anger results in the suppression of love. An emotional, healthy person can display a wide range of emotions. When we don't feel fully, we are limiting the life of the body. We have a miscellaneous koan. Show me an unmovable tree in the high wind. What is this koan pointing to? Is the tree that is unmovable in the wind the tree that is rigid? Or is it more like the tree that can bend and become one with the wind? What is the unmovable body in a crisis? This is the body that allows all feelings to flow through without grasping to stories about them, about it. Through the practice of the Great Heart, we learn to transform all obscure emotions into their intrinsic luminous light energy. It is a very healing practice. I will finish my talk with a quote from Carl Jung, and then I will comment on it. He's talking about the psyche, and talking about the psyche, he writes, its ancestry goes back many millions of years. It sprang from a perennial rhizome beneath the earth, and it would find itself in better accordance with the truth if it took the existence of the rhizome into its calculations, for the root matter is the mother of all things. I just was so amazed when I found this quote. I cannot believe that Jung realized that, that he was so deep and so clear in his mind that he realized this. So I'm gonna unpack this for you a little bit. So our mind, that mind that we have inherited, this very mind, goes back millions of years. And it came to life from this perennial rhizome that he calls perennial rhizome, as metaphorically, beneath the earth. And then when he says, and it would find itself in better accordance with the truth, he's referring to our current civilization, our current world. So we will find ourselves in better accordance with the truth, absolute and relative truth. If we would take the existence of the rhizome into our calculations, for the root matter is the mother of all things. Down, down, down our psyche, as deep as you can go, you will meet the mother of all things already there, always shining there. And he later continues, the knowledge of all the human race is stored within the psyche as the rhizome and potentially available to each one of us. In ancient times, we saw the whole creation as the Great Mother, giving birth to all the forms of life that were herself. Her womb is the depth of the earth. From her, new lives come forth and back to her. Grown old returns. She was also the moon. During the 3 days of the absence of the moon, we learned to see imaginally. Back in time, at the beginning of time, that's how we learned to see imaginally, observing the moon, the phases of the moon, and was very important when actually there was no moon. We have to visualize the moon there, although we could not see it. So that was the origin of visualization. And visualization is very important because if we can visualize something, we can create it, we can manifest it. But first we have to see it. When our prehistoric ancestors look at their surroundings, the animals, the plants, the moon, the cave, the rain, the sun, you know, you have to remember they have no conditioning. They have no conditioning. I mean, they had to survive. Conditions were very difficult. I mean, they didn't carry these, you know, superficial thoughts and stuff that we phones and you name it, all this branch of stuff that we carry around in our head. They carry nothing. They had to survive. They had to feed their children. They had to make it work. There was no time to, you know, create wars, dominate. There was no time for that. We had to pull it together. So when our prehistoric ancestors look at the surroundings, the animals, the plants, the moon, the caves, the rain, the sun, they intuitively knew, felt, and recognized all creations as the manifestation of the mother, the great mother, the mother of all the Buddhas, Prajnaparamita. During the last 4 centuries, we have been trained in the patriarchal ways of thinking. We have forgotten what it feels like being born in a benign, benevolent, feminine universe, which equally contains all genders, races, creatures. We have forgotten, but like Jung says, this way of seeing life is still present in us, and we can reconnect with it. Now that our precious planet is in such a precarious situation, it is so important that we look back at the origins of humanity, when we lived in harmony with the environment and in peace with each other. Evolving into the human race through our efforts of mutual cooperation and peaceful community life. There was a balance between an invisible order governing the revolving phases of the moon and a visible earthly order embodied as the cycles of human and animal life, the cycles of the seasons and the agricultural year. The most startling difference between our original ancestors, the parents of our human race, and our contemporary civilization lies in the awe and reverence that our early ancestors accorded to the animals and the planet. The vision of the unity and sacredness of life has lived in the roots of the human psyche for thousands and thousands of years, much longer than patriarchy, so much longer, like 100 times longer than patriarchy. And this way of life is still within us, and it's possible to reconnect with it. Maha Prajna Paramita, to be continued.